Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Chemical Engineering Sectional Committee, I warmly welcome Mr. P.S. Maldenia for this public lecture. Before we start with the lecture, let me give a brief introduction on Mr. P.S. Maldenia. Mr. Maldenia graduated from the University of Peradeniya in 2004 in the field of industrial engineering, and he got his chartered engineer qualification in 2016. He is an accredited energy auditor and a lead auditor in ISO 50001 energy management systems. Presently, he is working as the director ecosystems for the Presidential Task Force for Energy Demand Side Management. Without wasting time, I warmly welcome and invite Mr. Maldenia to continue with the public lecture. Thank you.
Okay, good evening to everybody. Without wasting my time, as Kodakar said, I will directly go to the lecture. So this is on implementing ISO 50001 in your organization. So since there are very few people, may I know how many of you have heard of this standard? Can you raise your hands, please? And are you in the process of implementing this in your organization? No. Maybe some of you, but I think others are interested in getting the basics of ISO 50001. So this is the outline of my lecture. First, I will introduce what is energy management, then ISO 50001 standard, intention and benefits, and then I will move on to the core part of this one, how to implement this system in your organization, and also I will briefly explain the process to get the certification. So what is energy management? Energy management related, there are few definitions, and we have progressed over time. About 20 years ago, we mainly focused on energy conservation. What is energy conservation? It is reducing energy consumption through using less of an energy service. So we just turn off our lights and save energy, but we remain in darkness, kind of thing. That is called energy conservation. That means we sacrifice some of our comfort to save energy. But at the present time, we mainly focus on energy management. What is energy management? Continuous process of optimizing energy usage without affecting quality or energy services delivered. So you are not affected, your comfort is not affected, but you continually reduce the energy by improvement of processes using new technology, energy efficient technology, like that. In that way you progress. That is called energy management. And there is another thing, renewable energy usage, use of energy that comes from resources which are naturally replenished on a human time scale. This should come next, and then sustainable energy usage. What is sustainable energy usage? It is use of energy to meet the needs of present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their energy needs. So it is a combination of energy management and renewable energy usage. So this ISO 50001 is energy management standard based on the second definition, but actually it touches some of the renewable aspects as well. So I think it is more suited for the fourth definition, but anyhow it is defined as energy management standard. So what is ISO 50001? Energy management put into an internationally recognized framework. It quite the same as 9000, ISO 9000 and 14000 in the structure. So the purpose of this standard is to enable organizations to establish the systems and processes necessary to improve energy performance, and it is expected by implementing this standard to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions and other related environmental impacts, and also reduce energy cost through systematic management of energy. So these are the benefits of ISO 50001 implementing. Reduced cost of energy consumption, that is obvious, and reduced exposure to rising energy prices, and you can reduce the emission of carbon dioxide, and also you can increase the availability of utility services. For example, if the consumption of compressed air in a factory is reduced, there will be more compressed air available for productive use elsewhere. And improved control of operations lead to improved productivity and stability of operations, because operational controls related to energy are covered by this standard. And improved comfort levels in buildings, including temperature, ventilation, lights, because when you improve the energy situation, sometimes for example, if you introduce LED lighting, most of the time you get better lux levels than the previous lighting systems, at the same time reducing energy. That is also true for air conditioning systems like that. And reduce maintenance costs arising from better operation of equipment and machinery, and also compliance with applicable legal requirements and other requirements. And many organizations get to know these legal requirements and all these things because of this ISO standard, because only when, most of the time, only when they are going to implement these standards, they are looking for these regulations. And I have met many people while I was auditing they never knew about these energy related regulations before implementing ISO 50001. So now I move on to setting up of energy management system. So this start with the top management commitment. So what should the top management do? First, they should define the scope and boundaries, whether they can include whatever the processes or the buildings in this, whether it is covered in this standard or not, that should be defined by the top management. And then they should define energy policy, and also appoint an MR, management representative. Usually he can be an energy manager or senior person from the organization, and energy management team. And then the top management should provide resources, human resources, technology resources, and financial resources to maintain this system. Most of the time these systems do not work simply because the top management has very less commitment. Sometimes they just want to get the certificate, but after that they are not providing these resources. And also the top management should communicate the importance of energy management system to the organization. So this is energy policy. So what is energy policy? Energy policy is the statement by the organization of its overall intentions and direction of an organization related to its energy performance, as formally expressed by the top management. It provides the framework for action and for setting of energy objectives, targets, and is documented, communicated, and understood well within the organization. So it is actually it provides the framework for action, future action, a brief document, and there are several points should be included in this energy policy. It should be appropriate to the scale and nature of the organization. It should include the commitment to continual improvement in energy performance. It should ensure the availability of necessary resources and support, commitment to comply with applicable regulations and other requirements, setting and reviewing of energy objectives, targets, and support the purchase of energy efficient technology and services. This is kind of energy policy, sample energy policy, very simple document, one page, and it says save energy, and each of these sentences, if you take together, address the above mentioned points that should be included in the policy. So the role of management representative is to ensure the energy management system is established, implemented, maintained, and continually improved in accordance with the standard, and he should identify persons with the energy management team and define responsibilities, and he should report to the top management on system performance and energy performance and promote awareness of energy policy and objectives to the organization. So once the initial setup has been done, then we move on to the actual implementation of the standard, and it is based on PDCA cycle: planning, doing, checking and act. And the planning phase constitute conducting energy review, establishing energy baseline, energy performance indicators, objectives, targets and action plan in accordance with the organization's energy policy. And do phase, it is the implementing energy management action plan. Check phase, measurement and analysis, auditing, corrective and preventive action. And also there's act phase, take actions to continually improve energy performance and the energy management system. The act phase is actually the management review. So energy planning. So energy planning phase, what you should do first? First you should understand the legal and other requirements that would affect your energy management system. You should actually thoroughly study the legal and other requirements related to this energy management system that can be directly energy related, environmental related, safety and health and quality. For example, safety and health, there are regulations on standard lux level that should be maintained in factories, so that you just cannot reduce the lux level arbitrarily. In that case, you should know these kind of regulations, although they are not directly on energy, safety and health. Now the background has been studied, we go for the energy review. Energy review, what is an energy review? Some people say it's an energy audit, and some say no. What do you think? Energy review, it's not just an energy audit, because energy audit lacks what I have highlighted in red in this slide is not generally covered in energy audits. So this is the procedure. First, identify current energy sources, evaluate past and present energy consumption. Then you should identify the facilities, equipment, systems and personnel working for the organization that could contribute to high energy use, and identify other relevant variables affecting energy use, significant energy use, determine the energy performance of the significant energy users, estimate future energy use and consumption, identify, prioritize and record opportunities for improvement. The red color ones are generally not covered in energy audit, so it is much more than a simple energy audit. So what do you mean by identify current energy sources? If the company uses several types of energy, you should first identify these things, and then evaluation of past and present energy use and consumption. What do you mean by this? So these are the information to collect: monthly electricity bills, diesel, gas, furnace oil, the kind of energy usage records, and then submetering data, energy related data like kilowatt and usage hours of equipment. And also sometimes if you don't have this kilowatt values on the nameplates, you can use measuring instruments to get the values. So by using this information, you need to identify the facilities, equipment, systems and processes that become the significant energy users. How to do this? So using the simple way is to using this information collected, you can construct the energy balance. Your largest energy consumers generally become the significant energy users unless you have already made some improvements. And if there are less improvements can be made to the largest energy consumers, then but other smaller ones who can offer significant opportunities can be considered as significant energy users. So for example, this is an energy balance of an organization. It has been organized by the processes. So fabric drying, processing, yarn drying, knitting, boilers, like that. So fabric dyeing can be the most significant energy user, like that. About the energy users that account for about 80% of the organization can be considered as significant energy users. So this is for thermal energy consumption. Again, fabric drying, yarn drying, these are the significant energy users. So after identifying the significant energy users, you need to identify the variables affecting significant energy use. For example, if the kitchen of a hotel is significant energy user, the variable affecting the energy use is guest nights or number of meals prepared. These kind of things you need to identify. Then you need to determine the current energy performance. That means you need to develop energy performance indicators and energy baselines. And then you need to identify, prioritize and record opportunities for improvements. If the system is not complex, you may do it yourself. Otherwise you may need the service of an energy auditor. So the energy auditor can identify the opportunities that can be implemented for saving of energy. So the future energy use and consumption should also be estimated to get a forecast for the next year. And if you have an estimate of production for the next year, you can get the energy forecast for the next year based on the performance models developed. So what are the energy performance indicators? So energy performance indicators are of several types. You can use the measured energy value and also ratio of measured value. For example, specific energy consumption, that is kilowatt hour per ton of production, like that. If there is no base load, you can use this ratio of measured values. Measured energy value is not a very good energy performance indicator because it does not account for the variable of the factors. And there can be statistical and engineering models serving as energy performance indicators as well. So the baseline, the energy performance indicators and the baseline. What is the baseline? The organization shall establish an energy baseline using the information in the initial energy review, considering a data period suitable to the organization's energy use. What is the baseline? Purpose of the baseline is to have a reference to compare progress. Generally, it is based on energy performance indicators need to be constructed for a specific time period. May set baseline for each energy performance. To explain it, I have taken a real example. In this example, electricity consumption of the organization has been correlated to production output. So the relevant variable is production output. Y-axis is energy consumption. So this equation, you can see it on the graph, that is actually the energy performance indicator. If you put the production forecast for the next year for this equation and get the values, that could serve as the baseline, because according to the current relationship you set the baseline. Okay, so you need to, when you are establishing targets, you need to, so this is another model that is commonly used in the hotel industry. The consumption trend is on the top, and target value has been set below this baseline. So this once these energy performance indicators baselines has been set, you now can set the objectives, targets and action plans. So what's an objective? Objective has a broader scope than targets. Objective you can set for a significant energy usage as reduction of firewood usage, just simple thing. And target is more specific, reduction of steam usage for dyeing process by 5% from the set baseline. By you can set a date also. So this is the action. For this objective and target, you set the action plan. So these are the actions that is going to be implemented. Waste is recovery, and there are several other things. Insulation of steam pipes, like that. They have identified storing chopped firewood in for several weeks in the tight place before putting into the boiler, like that. They have identified several actions, and there is a responsibility and target date, and also how to method to verify the result. Reduction of wood kilogram per kilogram of steam produced. By checking that value, you can verify the results. So this is the diagram for this energy planning process in one diagram. It's quite complex, but finally you need to get the idea what are the outputs of the energy planning process. So what are the outputs of the energy planning process? Objectives, targets, action plans, and also energy performance indicators and baseline. So now that we have planned, we now go to implementation phase. So at the implementation phase, there are several things you need to do. First thing is competence, training and awareness, communication, documentation, and then what is identified in the action plan can be implemented. These are the supporting clauses, like training and awareness, that may not be identified in the action plan, but anyhow you need to certain level, even to implement this action plan, you need training and awareness, communication and documentation. Otherwise you cannot, it will be difficult to implement the system. So competence, training and awareness. Persons working related to significant energy users has to be trained. So the organization shall ensure the employees working for or on behalf of the organization are aware of energy policy and requirements of the energy management system, aware of their roles, responsibilities and authorities in achieving the requirements of energy management system, aware of the benefits of energy performance, aware of impact of deviation from specified procedures. And the organization shall communicate internally and may communicate externally about the energy management system. To get the ideas of the personnel of the organization, you need to implement some system. You can place a box where the employees can put their ideas, which you will collect and get the better ideas for better implementation of the standard. So then you need to have documentation, and what is a document? Information used to support an effective and efficient organization operation, usually generated within the planning phase. So there's a difference between the document and a record. Documents can change. Documents generally, if you are familiar with the other ISO systems, you may remember that documents has versions, version 1, 2, like that you have, but records don't have versions. They are actually snapshot in time. You can't change the records. So these are the major documents: energy policy, scope, boundaries, planning process, like that. There are 8 compulsory documents, and generally these documents are organized in as energy management manual. It would refer to the procedure manual, and procedures referring to formats and other exhibits. and this documentation need not be in the printed format. You can use the electronic format as well. And the organization shall establish, implement and maintain procedures to effective document control. I am not going into detail, but you can refer to the standard. You can identify what has to be done for document control. So the documentation, communication, and then it comes to actual implementation, the operational control, design and procurement. Operational control means the organization shall identify and plan operations and maintenance activities which are related to its significant energy users, and operating and maintaining facilities according with operational criteria, and also you need to appropriately communicate this operational control to the personnel working for the organization. So for example, I have some examples. For a large office building, this is the energy balance. So the significant energy user is air conditioning, because it is the largest portion of the energy usage, and if nothing has been done to implement this air conditioning system, this may be the significant energy user. So what is the operational control? Set the temperature of the air conditioner space at 26. So you have check all the air conditioner before leaving the office at the end of the day. So responsibility has been given for the office assistants. And for a faulty prone, blast freezers account for about 67% of the total energy usage, and the workers must know that the blast freezers should be loaded only when the weight of chicken exceeds 100 kilograms. If not, what will happen is they just open the door for a lower load, and then lot of cold air coming out, and there can be lot of energy wastage. So for tree industry, 50% electrical energy is for withering process. So this can be minimized by controlling the wet and dry bulb temperature difference. That means the relative humidity and the temperature can be effectively controlled, and if you do not put the value at 3.5 degree difference and above that, you will not get the required withering. I mean, it will be over withered. Below that, it will take more time. I mean, the fans may be operated for many hours, maybe 3 hours or more, if you reduce a little bit, because the drying rate can be correlated to wet dry bulb temperature like this. There is a drastic reduction in drying rate if you reduce the wet dry bulb temperature to 2 degrees centigrade. So it's a effect. It's very significant operational control, and these are not only on the parameters like temperature, pressure, relative humidity, but also for maintenance aspects you need to develop this operational controls, because for example, in a tea factory, the firewood consumption accounts for about 50% of the cost for total energy. So it's a significant energy user. So to reduce the firewood usage, what you need to do, one of the things you need to do is to clean the dryer tubes often, very frequently, because if soot deposited on the dryer tubes, you will consume more firewood to get the required heating effect. So it is quite obvious. So the boiler operators should be informed about this operational control. And this communication to the workers can be on verbal, printed or any form. Workers should be knowledgeable of the consideration. So operational controls, I think it is clear to you now. Then what we should is to focus on the design. If the organization is designing new modified and renovated facilities, the energy performance improvement has to be considered. The result of the energy performance evaluation shall be incorporated where appropriate into the specification, and also once the construction has been finished, the result has to be recorded. For example, if you are designing a new building, you can ask the contractor to comply with building code and submit evaluation of energy usage. And for example, if you are designing pumping system, there may be several options. One pump with throttling, two smaller pumps in parallel, and also one pump with VSD. In case of energy consumption, the one pump with throttling maybe it's quite high energy consuming option, but initial cost may be low. So sometimes it may be cheaper over the time. You can, if you can go to the one pump with VSD option. So in procurement of energy services, products and equipment, and also energy, you need to establish criteria for assessing energy consumption and efficiency over the expected lifetime. You need to define criteria for purchasing energy using equipment for the significant energy users. For example, lighting, you can set a criteria that we are going for life cycle cost for this kind of applications. For example, if you are using incandescent lamp, the total cost is not only the lamp cost, the energy cost. There can be several lamp replacements, and so the total cost will be, for incandescent, if you use incandescent, the total cost will be 7,200, and if you go for LEDs, it's only 2,100. And also the organization shall define and document energy purchasing specification. What are the energy purchasing specification? Even if not only for the energy using products, services and equipment, but also if you are purchasing energy, you should develop specification for the purchase energy sources, because in some countries there can be cheaper energy providers, but in our case it is not applicable, because anyhow the tariff structure is quite the same for organizations, because we need to go for CB or LECO, the same structure they follow. And after that we move on to the check phase. Checking phase: monitoring, measurement and analysis, evaluation of compliance with legal and other requirements, internal auditing, non-conformities, corrective, preventive action and control of records. So monitoring and measurements and analysis. What to monitor? Significant energy users, relevant variables related to significant energy users, energy performance indicators, effectiveness in action plan in achieving objectives and targets, and also evaluation of actual of expected versus actual energy consumption. And there should be an energy measurement plan. It should be defined and implemented. What is measured, measuring instrument, interval of measurement, responsibility, it should be included, and should use reliable measuring instrument. That means the measuring instrument should be calibrated. The organization shall investigate and respond to significant deviations in energy performance. And even in the this phase, the legal requirements should be reviewed. And then you should do internal auditing. So basically what you do in an internal audit is quite the same for the external audit. Different departments of the same organization audit the other department whether they comply to the standard. So in this case, the audit plan should be developed considering importance of the processes and areas to be audited, and also results of the previous audits. Selection of auditors and conduct of audit shall ensure objectivity and impartiality. Should be impartial, and records of the audit should be maintained and reported to the top management. At the management review, you should present it to the top management. So this is a kind of audit plan. One department audit another department on the policy, energy review, baseline, and like that various clauses of the standard. And in the audit there can be the non-conformities can be raised, and you need to take correction, corrective action, and preventive action. What's a correction? It's an immediate action taken to rectify a non-conformity. For example, in the internal audit, it has been revealed that lower temperature has been used. Higher temperature has been used in an oven, so that the temperature can be much lowered. So what is the corrective action? Is the set you can set the correct set point, and but it is not the corrective action, because it can recur because the operators are not trained. So training the above operators is the corrective action. Preventive action is action taken to prevent occurrence. It has not occurred yet. So this is a kind of non-conformity report. It has several things like this ISO 50000 requirement number, description of the non-conformity, responsible person, root cause, action, and also corrective action taken to correct the non-conformity. So the next one is control of records. The organization shall establish and maintain records as necessary to demonstrate conformity to requirements of its energy management system. Define and implement controls for the identification, retrieval, and retention of records. So these are the record requirements. Energy review, baseline, like that. There are many record requirements in these standards. So now that I think we have completed 3 phases now: plan, do, check, and the final one is acting. Act phase. What are you going to do? It is simply a typically a regular meeting. It's called management review. Typically a regular meeting of top management to help consolidate their support for the energy management system. It serves 2 main purposes: to communicate to them what is happening in the ENMS, and also to gain support and make decisions to aid progress in the future. So these are the inputs to the management review: follow-up actions from previous management meetings, review of energy policy, performance and energy performance indicators, result of evaluation of compliance with legal and other requirements, extent to which objectives and targets have been met, internal audit results, status of corrective and preventive actions, and recommendation for improvement. So the management review, at the management review, decisions regarding changes to energy policy, energy performance indicators, objectives, targets, and allocation of resources may be taken. So I think so the process continues in the PDCA cycle. So this is the implementation process of ISO 50001. So but if you are interested, even if you don't have money, you can just get the standard and implement according to that standard. That is cheaper, because if you get the certificate, it would cost something. I think even to get the initial certification, it would cost about 150,000 rupees, and annually you need to pay the certification cost about 100,000 rupees. So this is the process to get the certification. So at first you need to get ready with the standard, and then there will be an adequacy audit. You need to forward an application and a pre-assessment questionnaire to the certification body, and they will assess without going to the site. and the documentation and the like. And then the stage 1 audit is conducted. Stage 1 audit, it's an on-site audit and observation for improvement given. For that audit, the auditors from the certification body and energy experts, those are also auditors, will be present for this audit. And at the stage 1, observation for improvements given, and after this observation has been corrected, the company can invite the auditors to come to the second stage audit. And this is also an on-site audit, and also again we check whether they have corrected the observations in the stage 1 audit, and also here in addition to observation, NCRs are also raised, non-conformity reports are raised, and after correcting these NCRs they can get the certification. So this is the process, and in 3-year intervals you need to get the B certification annually. After the first certification, annually surveillance audits are conducted. So these are the other relevant standards related to ISO 50001. If you can get down, you can read these things. This is very important because especially ISO 50006, measuring energy performance using energy baseline and energy performance indicators. Because I think here all are engineers, you need to get a thorough understanding of the baselines and energy performance indicators. In many organizations, people fail to understand what are these energy performance indicators, baseline, and their importance. So you can get this standard and read out that is more elaborate on this energy performance standard, energy performance indicators and baselines. And that is the lecture for today. If you have any questions, you can ask me.
About the audit, the audit is not actually way of analyzing the succeeding months, succeeding lectures, saying that the audit is being implemented. So I don't understand that.
No, actually what I said is energy review is not the same as energy audit. So you need to add some more to the energy audit to become an energy review. But you may do an energy audit to identify the opportunities. But energy review has some more components than the energy audit. In the typical energy audits, generally you are not covering these aspects that I have highlighted in red.
How to measure gas performance in the factories? And measure electricity for the gas.
What do you mean by gas performance?
I mean the energy consumptions and how we analyze it on the evaluation stage.
Gas consumption you can meter. I mean, you can use the gas meters even. LP gas meters are available. And if you don't have meters, in some organizations they just weigh the gas cylinders and use that record also. That is enough. Most of the time it is enough. You may not need, it depends on your organization scale. I mean, if you are a small scale organization, you may not use many meters. Even if you have few meters, you can start this thing. But if the system is getting complex and developed, you can go for the sub-metering and all that.
What do you mean by pricing PSD?
Sorry?
Pricing PSD?
VSD means variable speed drives. To control the speed of the motors, you can use variable speed drives. Actually, ISO 50001.
Normally, asking that ISO in terms of certificates available.
Mhm. As far as I know, you can't ask that kind of certification from the manufacturers. But you can, get an internal decision that we are purchasing from such kind of manufacturers. But I don't think that all the manufacturers have this certification, ISO 50000.
How about wastage?
Yes. You mean that they have the certification ISO 50000?
Yeah.
I participate for ISO audits with SLSI, and they did not get the certification through the SLSI, but maybe they have get their certification. I don't know, from another certification body. I am not aware of that.
So you all can implement it because it's an outside qualified and certified factory. Can be is valid for the local industries.
Sorry, I did not get you.
For local industries, still valid almost the foreign party has certified plant. Because we have no way of missing that certification. We are not got it from a local body. So we say they are.
No, you can get the certification for international other organizations as well. International.
Also accepted here.
Yes, it's also accepted here. There are several other, I can't name it here, but there are several other companies as well. From SLSI, I think you need to pay some about 1000 rupees so to get this stand. But you can search for the internet. Sometimes there may be some PDF copies available. Maybe yes. But you can, if you know somebody else, you can get the photocopy of that stand. It's cheap.
As you know now, there are some there used to one of our professor, he to graduate son, he was working abroad. He wanted to implement a software solution so that he could save some energy. The companies and the industry, the variety of what you are saying. But he could implement it because they are trying to tap the software on him. So he improved from that implemented project here.
Software alone, I don't think so, cannot ensure that energy efficiency is improved. Yes, there are software. Even in many organizations, there are software to monitor the energy performance. You can use. These things are available, but it is only a part of this system. As I said, it's in the monitoring phase. You have to use this software and all these things. And software is not needed, I think. If you have an Excel sheet, that is enough.
No, I mean during operation time to save the energy, they are using the software so that it becomes like an intelligent operating energy saving system, so that the factory whoever is not there in that area, it gets for
Those things can be included.
PCs and all reduce something like that.
It is on operational control. It was addressed.
Yes.
But it is also a part of this stand, operational control. Earlier I mentioned that is monitoring, but this system has many components, as I explained. Not only operational control, for monitoring, everything, training, and all these things I have explained. If you don't have any more questions, I think I can wind up this lecture now.
The lecture is supposed to finish at 5:30. If you have no question, we can allow one more question. Since side no more questions. And then we are going to thank Mr. Margani who conducted this